In the late 1970s, rock music was taking bold leaps, and bands were reinventing what it meant to perform live. Among them stood David Lee Roth, a performer who could captivate an audience with a single move. Roth wasn't just a singer, he was a showman, throwing high-flying kicks, donning outrageous costumes, and exuding an infectious charisma. He demanded attention, and he got it. Van Halen's rise to stardom was fueled by this energetic frontman whose every word, laugh, and scream seemed to make fans feel part of a spectacle. To many, Roth was the epitome of rock's daring and freedom, yet behind the curtain, his relentless pursuit of the spotlight often overshadowed his bandmates and their contributions. This relentless drive was as much a blessing as it was a curse. Eddie Van Halen, the band's virtuoso guitarist and one of rock's finest, often found himself battling Roth for control of the band's image. While Eddie was focused on musical complexity, Roth's priority was all about entertainment, sometimes at the expense of harmony within the band. Their different approaches quickly sparked an undercurrent of tension that grew into a full-blown rivalry. Fans saw a united front on stage, but behind closed doors, Roth's larger-than-life persona was not always welcome. It wasn't just a clash of egos, it was a fundamental split in artistic vision, with Roth's magnetic showmanship at odds with Eddie's serious dedication to musicianship. Roth's unapologetic style didn't just rub his bandmates the wrong way, it often left his peers in the rock world baffled. To some, his behavior was eccentric, to others, it was intolerable. Among his critics was Ozzy Osbourne, who, as a fellow legend, wasn't shy about expressing his bewilderment at Roth's antics. Osbourne described Roth as someone who lost a couple of nuts and bolts and seemed somewhere else, suggesting that even by rock standards, Roth was an outlier. This perception was widely shared among other rockers, who saw his theatrics as more of a distraction than an asset. While other musicians focused on honing their craft, Roth seemed more consumed with his image and antics. Many artists, particularly those who valued authenticity and musicality, found Roth's behavior excessive, almost as if he was more a performer than a true musician. Roth's flamboyance, which he wielded to mesmerize audiences, made him a divisive figure in the rock community. Other rockers valued artistry above all else and often saw Roth's stage antics as a gimmick. This divide created a gap between Roth and his peers, who couldn't understand why he was so focused on outshining everyone around him rather than uniting in the spirit of rock. Within Van Halen, David Lee Roth's ambition wasn't just a spark, it was a wildfire that burned fiercely, sometimes scorching everything and everyone in its path. His insistence on being the center of attention electrified audiences and contributed immensely to the band's meteoric success. But for his bandmates, particularly bassist Michael Anthony and guitarist Eddie Van Halen, Roth's dominating personality came at a cost. Anthony once admitted that the band felt more like a business than a brotherhood, a striking confession that hinted at a core issue. Roth's relentless need for control and the spotlight sometimes overshadowed the camaraderie that bound most bands together. What should have been a partnership often felt more like a performance in which Roth was the sole star while the others were relegated to supporting roles. For Roth, his pursuit of fame was never just about ego, it was about securing a legacy, a determination to carve out a place in rock history where he alone could shine. His vision of Van Halen wasn't just a rock band, it was a stage for him to define his place as a rock icon. But his single-minded focus often alienated those around him. Roth wasn't simply a frontman, he was a force of nature who wanted to shape every aspect of the band's image, from their sound to their aesthetic. This level of ambition left little room for collaboration, and as Roth's star rose higher, the respect and goodwill within the group began to erode. His dominance wasn't just a feature of the band, it was a shadow cast over every rehearsal, every recording session, and every tour. By 1985, the internal discord had reached its breaking point. Years of unspoken resentment, creative clashes, and personal slights culminated in an explosive decision. Roth left Van Halen, a move that sent shockwaves through the rock world. For fans, Roth's departure was nothing short of betrayal. The frontman who had been the face of Van Halen was now gone, leaving a void that could never fully be filled. But for those who knew the band's story, it was clear that this wasn't merely a professional decision, it was a deeply personal split. Roth and his bandmates had clashed not only over artistic visions but over what the soul of Van Halen should be. The split was as much about ego as it was about music, and the pain of that rupture lingered long after Roth had gone his separate way. Van Halen's choice to continue without Roth didn't just mark a new chapter, it ignited a fierce debate among fans. With Sammy Hagar stepping in as frontman, the band's style evolved, bringing a new sound and energy that Hagar's loyalists embraced. Yet for fans who had idolized Roth's raw charisma, his absence left a wound that Hagar's polished style could never heal. The divide among fans became almost as legendary as the music itself. Roth's era had been edgy, wild, and unpredictable, a reflection of his own untamed spirit. Hagar's tenure, while commercially successful, embodied a more polished and collaborative approach, but to many it felt like a betrayal of Van Halen's original essence. Roth's departure left an indelible mark on Van Halen's legacy. Fans were forced to pick sides, with Team Roth and Team Hagar becoming almost as significant as the music itself. Every new album and every tour with Hagar felt like a reminder of the tensions and unresolved feelings that had led to Roth's exit. For Roth's loyalists, his absence was a void that couldn't be filled, a reminder of the fiery ambition that had once driven Van Halen to greatness but had also torn it apart. And as the years went by, the divide only deepened, solidifying Roth's departure as one of the most significant and dramatic splits in rock history. Roth's solo career was a bold statement that he didn't need Van Halen to thrive. It's like Just Like Paradise showcased his flair, his signature style, and his unbreakable confidence. Yet even as he stepped into his own, the feuds from his Van Halen days followed him. His rivalry with Sammy Hagar intensified, with both taking public jabs at each other over the years. Hagar mocked Roth's vocal abilities, while Roth belittled Hagar's contributions to Van Halen. Their public sparring became a sideshow in itself, adding another layer to Roth's controversial legacy. But it wasn't just Hagar with whom Roth clashed. Other rock icons distanced themselves from him as well. Roth's personality was as demanding as his performances, and his relentless ambition often alienated those who might otherwise have been allies. His brief return to Van Halen in 1996 showed that the old wounds hadn't healed, as disagreements quickly resurfaced. It wasn't until 2007, decades after he first left, that Roth rejoined Van Halen for a longer stint. Yet even then, the old tensions simmered just below the surface, a testament to the challenges of reconciling such contrasting personalities. Despite a career built on dazzling showmanship and explosive charisma, David Lee Roth's journey in rock is a tale woven with deep complexities and contradictions. Few rock frontmen could capture a crowd quite like Roth, whose performances blended theatrical flair with an almost reckless energy that left audiences spellbound. He didn't just sing, he transformed every song into an experience. In the process, Roth redefined what it meant to be a frontman, setting a standard for charisma and performance that few could match. Yet behind the glitz and bravado was a figure who often clashed not only with his bandmates in Van Halen, but with the very industry that helped catapult him to fame. His undeniable talent came with a price, as his relentless pursuit of the spotlight left a trail of fractured relationships and rivalries that continue to color his legacy. Roth's impact on Van Halen was seismic. He helped elevate the band from club gigs to sold-out arenas, bringing with him an aura that seemed larger than life. But his presence was a double-edged sword. While his energy was intoxicating, his personality often dominated the room, leaving little space for the collaborative spirit essential in any band. For Roth, every stage was a personal battleground, and every performance was a chance to cement his image as rock's ultimate showman. However, this same intensity that fueled his success also stoked tensions within Van Halen, particularly with Eddie Van Halen, whose quieter yet equally powerful dedication to music clashed with Roth's focus on theatrics. This wasn't simply a disagreement over musical style, it was a battle over what the very essence of Van Halen should be. Roth's legacy is one of contrasts. On one hand, he is remembered as a pioneer, an artist who pushed the boundaries of performance and brought rock into a new era. On the other hand, he is seen as a divisive figure whose personality could alienate even his closest collaborators. He was a whirlwind of ambition, a figure so driven by his desire to be a legend that he sometimes trampled on those around him. His feud with Sammy Hagar, who replaced him as Van Halen's frontman, is a testament to Roth's fiercely competitive nature. Even years after his departure, Roth was unwilling to let go, often belittling Hagar's contributions and diminishing the success Van Halen found with their new singer. This rivalry wasn't just about two men vying for the spotlight, it was an embodiment of Roth's refusal to be overshadowed, even if it meant alienating those who had once stood by his side. Today, Roth's name still sparks debate. He is both celebrated and criticized, seen as an icon by some and a divisive figure by others. His influence on rock music is undeniable, yet the stories of his conflicts, from battles with bandmates to public feuds with fellow rockers, paint a portrait of a man who often struggled to find balance between ambition and respect. He is a polarizing figure whose life embodies the classic rock and roll dichotomy, the ability to inspire legions of fans while simultaneously pushing away those who were closest to him. For every fan who sees him as rock's ultimate frontman, there are those who remember the strife, the ego, and the drama he left in his wake. In the end, David Lee Roth's legacy is one of both triumph and caution. He achieved his dreams, becoming one of the most memorable figures in rock history, but his path was strewn with broken partnerships and missed opportunities for harmony. His story is a vivid reminder that greatness often comes at a cost, and that the drive to be remembered can sometimes be as destructive as it is inspiring. Roth's life in rock is a complex tapestry of charisma, conflict, and consequence, a tale of a man who achieved greatness but never fully mastered the art of collaboration. His legacy is as turbulent as it is iconic, a testament to both the highs and the relentless challenges of living as a rock and roll legend.